Chief Nick Sohyda. What's up?
Retired.
Retired chief. What's the title now?
Deputy chief.
Cool, man. One of the OG Eastside Firemen's Club members, where the name of the podcast comes from. We used to drink beer at House Shed. So happy to have you.
Well, thanks. Good to be here. I mean, you're 2 blocks away from me.
It's a shame we don't see each other more.
Long trip, yeah.
How's work going?
Work's good. You know, it's a different function, different challenge. Having served for chief all those years, you kind of miss the floor. And so part of my responsibility is training, especially with the new folks, not only the regular drills, but they'll come in at all hours and want to train, which is great. And so it's actually a lot of fun, to kind of, help these young folks out. And, it's really made my skills a lot better, especially they let me drive the fire truck again. And I hadn't driven a fire truck in a long time. So my pumping skills and my math and have become very good again, so it's like being a fireman. So I kind of enjoy that part of it.
Family good?
Everybody's good. Youngest daughter is going to University of Maryland in the fall. Nice. And so everybody's out of the house.
Finally.
Yeah,
I see Riley every once in a while at Starbucks.
Yeah. 2 granddaughters.
2 now.
It's all good.
You're getting old.
I am getting old.
So we kind of start always with just like a little bit of background. So what got you into being a lunatic like the rest of us and loving fires, like being a fireman?
Yeah. I mean, this is, I think 41 years for me. And
I was going to ask you what your total was now.
I started as a 16-year-old junior fireman, like a lot of folks.
Yeah.
Spent 14 years as a junior, got hired in Mount Lebanon in 99, did my 25 years there. And I've been at Upper St. Clair for almost 2 years now. And I think my goal was to make it about 5.5 more years if my health treats me right, get to 63. And I'd probably still want to do it because I still like to go to fires. But even at 57.5, your body starts to wear on you a bit. Like right now, I got a torn rotator cuff. I'm not sure if I want to get it repaired and go through all that misery again. So
got good benefits?
Yeah. But you do the job the best that you can. Like there's a few things I might struggle with, like hooking a ceiling and stuff like that. But there's a lot of things, you learn to compensate for, and you just keep grinding it, man. I think most firemen are just built different. Like they asked me if I waited for a month to go to physical therapy, because I thought it would get better. And I finally went to the doctors and he's like, hey, it's torn and we'll put you to physical therapy. I go to physical therapy and they're like, you on light duty? I'm like, I've never been on light duty. I mean, the next day I couldn't put my suspenders and my coat on, but I managed to put them on and get on and drive the fire truck. And it's just kind of what we do. I think most people are just a different breed, and I love it.
That's good. So 5 more years.
5.5. Yeah. And I'll probably do a little bit of teaching and consulting, but it's going to be time to wrap it up. Here at some point. It's been fun. I think it's hard to leave. That's why I think I did so well leaving Mount Lebanon, was I really planned on that for many years. 3, 4, 5 years ahead, I'm planning when it's time for me to go, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And you kind of tell yourself when it's time for you to go, and hopefully you're prepared. And I think it helps you prepare. I think I was well prepared, and hopefully I'm well prepared to do something else when this time's up.
Good. No, yeah, that's good. It's good to have a plan. That's one thing I always respected about you. One of many, but you left on good terms. You went out happy. Yeah. Some of those guys, you saw them retire and they were just miserable.
They are. A lot of people leave the service mad. And I don't know if they know how to leave it any other way. I didn't leave mad at all. I left very happy. I mean, I still miss the men. I stop in and have coffee every once in a while with you guys. You're still down the street. And, I've made a lot of new friends, which has been really, really nice. And, like when we hire you guys, you're all extremely well experienced and really good. And not that they're not doing a great job where I'm at, but there was a lot of opportunity to bring that department forward and continue to bring it forward, especially from a training standpoint. And I think we've made great progress in a little bit of time there. So it's been fun.
I would agree.
I think everybody needs a challenge in life, and it's what your challenge is. As the fire chief, I pretty much accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish. And I think I got a little stale at some point. It's just too long to be the fire chief. So it was time to go do something else. And I think that's refreshed me, even though I miss the guys in the department.
Yeah.
I miss being a little bit busier. I mean, I could tell you I'm a little bit bored day to day. our runs might go a little over 500 and you guys were doing 2,200. And even though I didn't go on a lot of those calls, it kept the day really busy and it went by really fast.
What was your favorite part in your 25 years? What'd you like most about Mount Lebanon, would you say?
It was kind of a dream when I came here. I'd been a volunteer. I had tested a few places, but I had recently gotten married. I had a good job, and quite honestly, I mean, I always wanted to be a paid fireman, but at some point, it didn't make financial sense. And in Mount Lebanon's where it made financial sense. But having been here, I've lived here for 26, 27 years now. One of the things I most appreciate about Mount Lebanon is the education that my kids have gotten here. I mean, they've gotten an incredible education, and they've had great opportunities that I don't know that you get in every place in every school district. The fire department, it was well funded. I think back to my volunteer days and in a lot of consulting work when you in volunteer departments. I was at a consulting job last night with 3 departments. It's always about money, and the arguments are always about money, and they cause a lot of arguments in the firehouse and what you're arguing about day to day. And we never had those arguments in Mount Lebanon, and we really don't have enough Upper St. Clair where I'm at now. So it's nice to be well funded and well appreciated by the community. And it's just one less thing you have to worry about. So, anything we wanted to do, and probably still anything you want to do and accomplish in Mount Lebanon, you're probably going to find a way to accomplish it and get the financial support for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned consulting. You obviously travel around, you teach, do these consulting gigs. What do you see for the future of the fire service delivery model in Pennsylvania?
Well, right now, what we're experiencing a lot is communities looking at regionalization and not so much consolidation because that scares everybody and mergers. But I'm working on 2 projects right now, one in Mercer County and one local, where it's really driven by government, sometimes the fire department, and they're looking for opportunities. Let's say a fire service administrator or a coordinator. We want to hire somebody full time to help us with recruitment and retention and help us with our record keeping and help us with grants and help us with marketing, where 3 or 4 communities will share that person. And so kind of a regional concept. Up north, we're looking at probably 3 fire departments and 5 communities of hiring some part-timers. And so that'll be funded because some of these communities just can't afford it.
Yeah.
But it'll be funded across certain communities. And I think that's what we're seeing a little bit of now. A lot of places are hiring paid fire chiefs. You saw somebody just got Ross Township today.
Yeah.
I think it was named. Collier Township's looking.
Rogers went to South
Yep,
Fayette.
Rogers just went to South Fayette. Now,
What's up, Roger? By the way, just a side project. This is the first podcast Roger ever listened to.
Oh, okay.
He gave me congratulations for it. So if you're listening, Roger, what's up, buddy?
Yeah. So Roger got that opportunity. There's just I think more of those opportunities. Local government is looking for someone with some experience and some education to give them better guidance. I always say for the volunteers, I think we're afraid of fire chiefs or afraid of these administrators. What I tell volunteer departments is, look, the thing that you lack day to day is a seat at the table in local government. I mean, I think about when I worked in Mount Lebanon, I went to a staff meeting every week, and the police chief was there, and the rec director, and the finance director, and the library, and everybody's there communicating and trying to get their money. They're trying to get projects done. And the fire service doesn't have a seat at that table if you don't have a paid employee representing you. So usually your communication with local government is, once every 4 months I have an hour meeting, or once a year I give you a budget, and it's really hard to get those things. So that gives you a seat at the table. At least in my opinion. But it's not good. I mean, I think everybody understands people are really hard to come by. Our recruitment and retention. I mean, I wonder how robust a lot of recruitment and retention efforts really are. Volunteers don't have a time to do a lot of things, and now you almost need a full-time person to do recruitment and retention to get people. But between that and the cost of everything, I don't know how it's going to survive.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Yeah. Cool. So, how long have you been teaching now? When did you become an instructor?
I became an instructor
because that's when I actually first met you. Before was teaching at Fool's Weekend
in 1996. I became an instructor about not quite a year after Bryceland Street, and I distinctly remember that because the year I became an instructor, Jim Crawford and his crew were doing a little bit of this firefighter survival rapid intervention thing that they had created based on the experiences of Bryceland Street. And that's where I met Jim Crawford. Um, and a couple minutes meeting, months later, he's asking me if I'd join his crew and go out and teach with him. And then that gave me tons of opportunities to travel the country and meet a lot of people. But on the local level, 1996, so what, 30 years now. And I think I've been adjuncted to State Fire Academy since 1997 or 98. So it goes by really fast. But it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, when we go back and talk about people like Jim Crawford, I think people that make other people successful, or you got to find good mentors. I've had tons of good mentors, just people that I've met that took a interest in me and invested in me, their time and energy. And that's kind of what I like in St. Clair now, is I have that opportunity to invest in people and mentor them a little bit. And find good people in the fire service, get them to mentor you, help these young people grow and go where they want to go. That's what I think we find fun about it. Going back to Mount Lebanon, it's kind of funny because when I first became the fire chief, you're looking at your own career and you're looking at moving a department forward. And the longer you spend there, the less time it becomes about you and the more it becomes about the people there. And I found the greatest joy in the fire department really when hiring people like you and promoting people in the department to deputy chief. I mean, those are the greatest things. I mean, if I can tell the people the story about you, I mean, I met you playing hockey. I think I was on the Pittsburgh Foals hockey team. I think I was taking you into the bar before you were allowed to be in the bar. But you played on our hockey team when I met you, and, we had a good relationship, had fun playing hockey all the time. And then, hey, you applied for this job, and man, I was thrilled to death when you got hired, and I was thrilled to death to give you the opportunity. It's exciting for me. And then here you are, a deputy chief all these years later. So, those are the things that should be exciting.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you. Mentioned the Fools. There's like a revamp now, huh?
There's a revamp of the Fools. Yeah. So, the Fools were started probably 2000, 2001 on an RV on a trip to Branford, Connecticut to teach RIT. And there were probably 12 of us on the RV. Now, 11 of us drank heavily. One person was a designated driver, but the International had already started the International Fools. And we had a friend from Peters Township that moved to Florida, Bart Simpson, and he was a part of the founding International Fools. So Jim Crawford was the first president, and I was the first vice president, second president of the Fools. And we just named the people on that RV to different positions and put in the paperwork and started the Fools chapter. And really the Fools, it's all about the brotherhood and training, is really what the guiding principles are. And so they've done really well for a long time. I mean, you figure, 20 some years. We were the largest chapter in the United States at,
Really?
at 465 members. I found that out a few months ago. But
because it's like mostly New England, right? Is that?
it started in Florida, but there's chapters everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, there are really chapters everywhere. And a lot of the chapters, like we did very early, if you remember, probably back in 2005 and 6, we had the ultimate training weekend out at Western Center.
Yeah.
And I mean, we had all these facilities and all these big name instructors coming, and you're much like the Jimmy Ellis weekend now. You're able to bring in all these big names to teach all these great courses that you can't get on the local level at the State Fire Academy, and they bring a lot of experience. You bring it on the local level. And so we did that. We sponsored the hockey team, 2 hockey teams for the longest time, right? I mean, I think we probably played for 20 years. Travel trips to Cincinnati and Columbus.
Very serious hockey.
I mean,
hockey
and it was fun.
The focus was the hockey for sure.
And a lot of late night beer drinking.
Yes.
But so at one point it moved up north a little bit, and Danny Stack ran it for the longest time. God bless him, miss him. And then Danny Bart, and I don't know what happened. It's people. Everybody wants to do the right thing, and they did. I think sometimes people, maybe there weren't enough people, they volunteer for a position and they just don't have the time to do all these positions. So some things got dropped, but fortunately, Danny Barr was one of them. He stepped up I have to give Robin Evans a lot of credit. I mean, I've known Robin for 20 some years. She was the vice president of the Fools, I think, when I was the president. And the thing about Robin is, you give her a job to do, she does it. I
Yeah.
mean, she's done so many fundraisers for different
She's
things
in
in the
St. Clair
past.
now, right?
Yeah, she's done so many fundraisers. You know, if you say, hey, whether it was with the incident with Brian Chalfont or back when we did the Bobby Wasick charity hockey game, I
Yeah.
mean, she does a phenomenal job of that stuff. And we put together a new board. We were on the phone I've tried to stay out of it because I just wanted to get it back up and running because I
Yeah.
think it's a great organization. I really don't want long term to be on the board, so I'm the vice president. I don't have to do anything, but I just kind of am a cheerleader for the group that has really talked to the international, got it back together. There's well over 100 members. I know right now they went back to the burn camp. The burn camp was something we always went to every summer and
Yeah.
spent a day at the West Bend burn camp. What else have they done? I know on tap, obviously, they're going to be back in the Jimmy Ellis training weekend. In February, I believe, we're going to have Michael Dugan, if you know Michael Dugan, retired captain from 123
Yeah, I don't
Chuck.
know him personally, but
Yeah,
I'm sure
and
Matt does.
big old Irishman, you know, and Mike was one of my mentors. I had just met Mike through training with Jimmy Crawford. I remember Mike, you know, at one time, and there's obviously the famous picture of 9/11 with the three firefighters raising the flag on the rubble, but there's also a second famous picture of a guy. It's kind of on his back, and he's on a ground ladder, and he's hanging a flag off a light pole, and that's Michael Dugan, big old Irishman. But I remember. I was at a conference somewhere, and I was a student, and he was speaking. It was somewhere on the West Coast. It might have been San Francisco or Los Angeles or San Jose, regardless. And we're out to dinner, and Mike came out to dinner with us because he really didn't know any of those West Coasters. And I'm like, you know, I was a pretty new fire chief then. I'm like, hey, Mike, you know, I said, need a little advice because when I became fire chief, I jumped over a lot of people that were deputy chiefs. And so I went from lieutenant to fire chief, you know, and that's a huge jump day one to day two. Most of the guys were supportive, but with any new chief, they're going to challenge you a little bit. And some of them were giving me a hard time. So I'm telling Mike in the bar over a drink, I'm like, hey, these guys are giving me a really hard time. And do you have any advice? And Mike's like, yeah, F them. You tell them you're the damn fire chief and they better listen. And I said, well, that might work in New York City, but I'm sitting there thinking, hey, that's great advice. I don't know if that's going to work for me, but you know, that's Michael Dugan. But, he's coming along with Michael Gagliano. And Mike was a Seattle firefighter for the longest time. Mike was
He wrote articles in Firehouse, right?
yeah, and he started out teaching this air management concept, you know, after the Tarver incident in Phoenix about how to manage your air, him and a couple other guys. And so he's going to come. He does, you know, a lot of motivational stuff like how to make a great firehouse. This firehouse rocks. He also does something with his wife about firefighter marriages. So anyways, we're going to have at least a training day, a Friday and Saturday or Saturday with some national speakers again. And hopefully we'll continue to do that. And then we've had some conversations with some local guys, including Grit Fire Training, about, hey, maybe quarterly we just host something at a bar somewhere, a 2-hour lecture. I know that someone's trying to work on, I think, is it Bobby Eckert from over the Cleveland area? Eckert Fire
he's
Tactics.
He's a Philly guy, yeah.
Yeah, he's a Philly guy. I know he's really, you know, high energy. I've met him a few times, don't know him personally, but he's like, hey, I'll get Snap Tight Hose to sponsor this and the Fools. And so we have some people working to try. And really what we want to kind of do with that, although he may start the first one, is give local instructors an opportunity that may have, you know, something they're teaching. It's a little bit beyond the local level, but quarterly. And if you're a Fools member, it'll be free. So
I've been a member for a while, but are we still supposed we pay dues?
Well, we did.
I remember they didn't have like,
and that was
there was no like direct deposit or nothing.
Right, that was part of the problem.
If you told me every month,
right,
$5 would come out.
Well, when we called down the international, you know, Robin and I were on the phone call, and they're like, "Hey, what do we need to do?" And they're like, "You owe us dues back to 2018." And we hadn't collected them.
Yeah.
And the international, again, they wanted us to be successful. They gave us a big break on, as the largest chapter, they were supposed to charge us like $500 a year in back dues. And they said, we're going to charge you as the smallest chapter of $75. And fortunately,
that's cool.
The Fools aren't wealthy, but they had some money in the bank. So they have some money to do things to to get it back on track and do some things. But yeah, I think so. Right now, you go online. I think it's $25 or $30 for your first year. You become a member, and part of that is you get a card from the international. So a portion that goes getting you registered with the international. That might be $20, but you never register with the international after that. So after that, your dues are a little cheaper, I believe, and you get a card for the inter. So like you're still a member of the international.
Yeah.
It's just there was no local chapter.
Gotcha.
And I want to say there was no local chapter. There was. It was probably only last October uh, that it wasn't recognized by the international anymore. And here we are, and we probably started in April, and we're back up and running.
What kind of spawned that reinvigoration? Was it
Well,
you or?
it was partially me. There was an email that went out or Facebook post that said, "Hey, the organization, we're not recognized anymore."
Okay.
And I really didn't know what went on, and made a few phone calls. But yeah, I mean, and Jimmy Crawford called me too. I mean, Jimmy Crawford founded this, so I get a call from him when he sees it. And the reality of us is, I believe in the mission of the Fools, the brotherhood, the training, what the Fools did for us playing hockey all those years and all those memories. And I had a great time playing ice hockey with the team for that many years. And, I think Jimmy Ellis would have been very disappointed. I think Danny Stack would have been very disappointed. So when you talk about the brotherhood, I think you talk about it in that vein, or, hey, these are people that were our friends, that were doing the right thing for the fire service, that, we don't want to dishonor them. I mean, they were both passionate about training. They were both passionate. Danny Stack was the president of the Fools for a period of time, so they were both passionate about the Fools. And I didn't want to stain their memory. I just felt like it was the right thing to do, and I don't deserve the credit for it because I didn't do it, the work. I was just kind of the cheerleader,
the idea guy.
And I think I've always been good at that. You're like, let's go back to Mount Lebanon Fire. People ask me all the time, well, you don't know that. And no, I always had people. I had smart people around me. I surrounded myself with good people, and I let them run. Yeah. And I think that's kind of what we did here is we put a team together of people that were motivated and smart and said, hey, do what you do and run. Like I'm on this text message with the Fools board, and I generally don't even respond to them, and a lot of them I don't even read. I just assume that they're doing an amazing job doing what they do. And so
you were never good at responding to emails.
Yeah. I think it's a lesson is let good people do what they do. Don't interfere with them, and they make you look good, and they'll get it back. And I think it'll be one of the strongest chapters.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
Again, and, obviously they're trying to revive this hockey team. Which I've looked at.
Maybe they'll sponsor the
hockey
podcast.
Equipment online, but I think that would be a really bad idea for me to play hockey.
For those that don't know the story, Nick played his last game at his charity game. Who was that for? The Public Works guy.
We played for the Public Works guy that was electrocuted.
Yeah. Nick took a little bit of a shot, and would you tear your bicep that time?
I tore my bicep.
Yeah. And then the next day, Aaron sold your shit.
Yep, my wife sold all my stuff on eBay. I mean, it was like $4,000 or $5,000 worth of stuff. If I go to buy that new, it's really expensive.
Yeah.
But that was really the third injury I had. I mean, I tore both rotator cuffs, and I tore my bicep over a 10-year period playing ice hockey.
And we didn't warm up or do anything really to help our bodies.
No, I mean, but I was always into working out, and I know you're a big workout and CrossFitter and all that. I mean,
when you show up to the rink at 9:00 at night, 2 beers deep, and you go out and try to play.
9, 10 o'clock. Sometimes the games were at 11, right? And really, let's be honest, in the later games, we just wanted to get done because the bar closed at 2 o'clock. Yeah. So it's the faster we can get done, we can get up there and have a beer or two and before we went home.
Yeah. So you mentioned Jimmy Ellis and the training weekend. Are you teaching?
So I'm supposed to work with Jimmy Crawford. He's doing the RIT under fire, which is just basically the RIT skills that we've always taught. We do them under live fire conditions. Just adds a little bit of smoke and heat element, beats us up a little bit more.
Yeah.
And we're all old. That's a problem. But yeah, I'm probably doing that now. Obviously, there's a lot of hands-on classes, so they've really spread them out. And conveniently or inconveniently, our class is in Mount Lebanon. So if you're in Cranberry, you got to travel all the way to Mount Lebanon, go to the class, travel all the ways back. Yeah. I think there's a class at Washington County Fire Academy, but it's worth it. And again, the the cadre of instructors that are coming in and the things that they teach are just fantastic. I found growing up, probably like a lot of firefighters, between the age of 16 and 26, I probably went to every class there was and had every certificate there was, and I thought I knew a lot. And then one day someone said, it was a job that I worked in private industry and hazardous materials. They wanted us to teach for the company, and they're like, hey, we want you guys to become an instructor. So we conned them to sending us to the State Fire Academy. But when I get to the State Fire Academy for the first time in like 1994, I'm like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
We're going to fires here with 2 guys on a hand line. I go to structural burn classes back home. There's 4, 5, 6 of us on a hand line, knock the fire, restart it. And so it was way more realistic. And I'm like, wow, there's so much more for me to learn here. There's another level. And then when I went to Mount Lebanon, they said, do you want to go to the FDIC? I said, sure. What's that? And he says, well, we're going to send you to hands-on training. And I went to the rapid intervention saving our own program, I think. And, it was like, this is incredible. There's all this out there. So there's always this higher level of knowledge.
Yeah.
I think, I enjoy, but I'm going to teach people what I know and some of the street skills, but everybody has these different street skills and different experiences, and they come up. Some of these instructors are really brilliant. I never considered myself that, but they just have these great ideas, or they start a great conversation. I'm really into following this group, the search culture, and I forget the gentleman's name, but it's an open conversation. They ask a lot of questions, and they're pulling in data about search, and it's like, wow, this is really incredible. And I've always been data driven, so that the survival. The search stuff, now they're looking at the Mayday projects up and running again.
Yeah, I saw somebody took that back over.
Yeah, Jimmy Crawford took that, and Aaron Heller from On Scene Training Associates. And, obviously UL Fire Science Research Institute, a lot of data, a lot of research has driven a lot of decision making. So I really like that. But just the instructors are incredible, and what they teach is incredible, and it gives you a different way of looking at different things. It may not work exactly for you. I always said this, when I go to FDIC, I'd go all the New York City classes because they had great stories and great videos, and they went to a lot of fires. The reality is I'd come back and assess that, though, and it's like, I'm never going to be able to do that. I'm still going to your class because we're talking about fires, but I can't do that the same way. So you have to understand, you can learn a lot of stuff. It may not apply the same way, but obviously Matt Spindor, forcible entry, and there's great forcible entry classes up there, but what he's taught me about forcible entry from his experience in New York City, I would have never known if someone wouldn't have brought that material to me.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to learn on a local level. So that's the opportunity I think that you have locally.
Going up Friday for the speakers?
I would like to, if my boss lets me off on Friday.
All right, Ted, let's go. Well, shameless plug, those listening, we're going to be there, Eastside Fireman's Chat. Thanks to Sean. We're going to have a table. We're going to try to do a little live stream, pull some instructors in, and so I'll be there Friday.
Yeah.
We'll have beers. We'll have beers.
Yeah.
You should. I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
It's a work event, but you should come.
Did you ever tell your audience how the Eastside Firemen's Club started?
I kind of alluded to it in the earlier episodes. But yeah, so we had Nick. I want to say you started it, but you didn't start it because Hal started it. But Hal had the sweet double lot with the shed in the back, and Nick lived right around the corner,
about 5 houses down the street.
And the rule was, if the shed door was open, club was open.
The club was open.
And so a lot of times Hal would just leave that thing open, and whoever showed up, showed up. And I think he started going over a couple of times. It was great for Hal,
Right.
He loved having the company.
Yeah.
And then Lauren would go.
And we had our own little
we'd
club.
start going over.
And he was a great excuse. I mean, obviously he was a great friend and great to hang out with as an older gentleman, but he was a great excuse because if you told your wife, hey, I'm going up to visit Hal, could she ever say no?
Yeah, my wife loved it.
She can never say no. But he had a small fridge in that shed that he kept beers in. And so the first time that I ever went to, I first met Hal at a fire department banquet. And I usually, as the chief, tried to sit up front, and I tried to sit with different people. And so one year, I'm a fairly new chief. I'm sitting with Hal and his wife, and probably Terry Grunenberg and his wife. First time I ever meet Hal. And Hal starts telling me about the shed. He said, "Hey, when the shed's open, I got beer back there. I didn't know you lived there, stopped there." And so the first day I end up stopping, I'm driving up the road and there's a sheet of plywood out next to the tree, and it says Chief. He spray paints on it, Chief, the shed is open. Of course, the shed was open, and that was my cue to stop. And so, yeah, once I got you and Lauren involved, it was the East Side Firemen's Club, and we just kind of went there and
I
had
got the
beers
sign. You
together.
can't see it from where we're sitting, but the sign's up there. I got it from the
Okay,
juice
awesome.
box. So yeah,
Awesome.
we're official, and yeah, those are good times. Especially when my daughter was born, I'd go up there all the time. I'd be bored, I'd be home. It'd be like a Tuesday, it's like 3 p.m. I'd
Right.
go over, and Hal also had the famous saying, "Just one more." You couldn't leave. You finished your couple beers and you go to leave, and he'd be like, "No, no, no, you can
Right.
have one more, just one more."
Yeah, that was great for Hal.
Yeah.
I mean, he was an older guy, but he spent a lot of time as a volunteer in St. Clair and Mount Lebanon. He had great stories. It is kind of funny, just the bond I think both you and I and all of us shared with him, and that, hey, here's a gentleman that's probably in his, make me 20 years younger, and he's probably in his 70s, made it into his 80s, and just the stories he would tell and
Yeah.
share with us. If you remember, we always joked that he was on the fire truck with the horses, and he spent time in the Navy, and we would always tell him, "Well, what boat were you on?" He'd say, "No, I was on a ship," and I'd bring a picture of a sailboat, but he was older. But yeah, that bond was forged again just through the brotherhood, I think, of the commonality that we shared in being firemen, and a guy that really loved the fire service and loved being around firemen. And it was good for us, and I think it was great for him. He was a good dude.
Doing any more burns lately? Any more teaching?
I don't teach much often. Every once in a while, we'll do a burn. We did our own department burn, but I managed to facilitate it, so I never had to put my gear on and go in. Again, I'm not quite as young. I love it, but I pay for it.
Yeah.
For a few days after. So hands-on training. I mean, I used to do a lot of RIT survival burns. I might do a burn in here. I'm really not doing survival or RIT hands-on. Most of my training now focuses on incident command. I mean, I teach that 40-hour program for the State Fire Academy. We do it the academy on the road, so it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, a weekend off, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're doing it 3 times a year right now. There's a lot of demand. They want us to do it more often. And then I go up and teach Structure 4 at State Fire Academy, but it got canceled this year, not because there weren't enough Structure 4 students, but there weren't enough Structure 3 students, and 4 supports 3.
Yeah.
So, at the State Fire Academy, you used to go to Structure 1 and 2, and then you go to 3. So now they've revamped everything.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure what the prerequisites are for 3, but there's Truck Academy 1 and Truck Academy 2. Now there's a Truck Academy 3, and there's an Engine Academy 1 and 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Now I did go to State Fire Academy and help with Engine Academy 1 was probably the last burn that I was at. And I really like the way they've revamped the programs. I think they focus on a lot of more different concepts like Engine Academy 1, a lot more on larger lines and bringing lines up the side of the building, and you're using step guns and deck guns, and they teach you about drafting and just a lot of things they didn't do before, foam operations. And so I think the program's awesome. It's just a little more effort, but I encourage anybody that can ever go to the State Fire Academy to go spend a week.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. I mean, similar to the way you said when you started in Mount Lebanon. I mean, I hadn't been there yet, and you guys sent me, and it was eye-opening. It was cool. Just, I mean, the training was It was good, but just meeting the people.
Yeah,
You
meeting the
mentioned
people.
brotherhood. You're meeting guys from the other side of the state that might do things different, might have better ideas, maybe worse ideas, but
Yeah. No, you get away a little bit too. I know the challenge for a lot of volunteers is going, trying to make it, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, taking 5 days off work. That's a challenge. I think the State Fire Academy has done some things like the Engine Academy program. There's several offerings that run Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
yeah.
Now there's some long days. Like I think our Saturday we went to 8 p.m. Truck Academy 1 is 3 days, I believe, but they do it a Friday, Saturday, Sunday offering. So they have tried to be more aware of trying to get availability for volunteers. But yeah, if you ever have to get them, and I think, like when you go up there, I went up there, you think it's all over the state, but Western Pennsylvania always has a great showing. So we go up there, and there's a lot of Western Pennsylvania firefighters up there with you from different departments or local.
Yeah. Cool. What else is cooking in the future? Anything?
No, I really can't think of a lot.
Yeah.
Just grinding away and trying to make it 5.5 more years.
So we kind of always end with a little bit of advice or words of wisdom, but your son's now in it now too, right? Nicholas, is he still involved?
Yeah, he had our first we had a baby,
Yeah.
so it's our first granddaughter, and he's been pretty busy with that. So he never got overly involved. I mean, he did go and get his firefighter one. I don't know if he'll come back. I think you tell. I never thought he tried. He probably tried it when he was 26, 27 years old, and I give him credit for trying. But not everybody shares the love for it. Even in your own family. Now, I became a fireman, and I know you became a fireman because our dads were firemen.
Yeah.
And you grew up around the firehouse, and he probably wasn't that much different, but yeah, not you can instill it. I mean, some people just have the passion, and I told him from day one, look, if you're going to do this all the way, or don't do it because it is risky, and you got to be good and you got to be sharp. If you're not going to do that, it's cool. It's fine. I don't care, but um, so
What
we'll see what he
advice would you
does.
give somebody coming in nowadays?
Um,
A
you know,
young buck in essentials.
I see a lot of people. Well, unfortunately, like when we do essentials now, and I really don't teach essentials. I'll tell my story. I taught essentials for a long time, and I went one night. I was filling in for Mac, and we were teaching rope, and there were about 6 14-year-olds in the class. And I left the class that night and said, I'll never teach essentials again because those 6 14-year-olds broke me.
Dude, that's young.
I know. I have gone back a little bit, but I facilitate the program for Shaycock. So I just schedule it and kind of run it. And the first night, I don't know that we had to do this, but now we have a code of conduct. And just telling these young folks when they come into the class that you're expected to be on time. You just don't waltz in here 10 minutes later like nothing's happening.
Yeah.
If you're not going to be on time, you let somebody know. And I expect you're going to come in and apologize to the instructors and your classmates saying, hey, I'm sorry that I'm late. I got stuck in traffic. Okay. But it's acknowledging that have a little bit of respect for the people. We have to tell them no phones, turn off your phones. We have to tell them to dress appropriately in the class. So I think, and maybe it's not advice for new firemen, but I think dealing with new firemen, you understand that you're not just teaching them firefighting skills anymore. They may not have gotten this at home, and it's not picking on anybody, pointing a finger, but they may not have had this. They may not have learned about paramilitary organizations. They may not have learned what's expected. And so we have to instill that. They don't know what a flathead and a Phillips screwdriver is. So you start talking this. I mean, we almost need a class in essentials day one that's an hour or two. Just so these are the different tools and what they do and how you use them.
What do you think about the new program now that it's rearranged a little bit? It's hard to tell. I mean, we haven't even been through a full year of it, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know what they're trying to do is they're trying to align it with the new NFPA standard. I kind of really like that they've added an or a firefighter 2 module. Because before we had a firefighter 2 prep class, there really wasn't a firefighter 2 class for people to get that. I don't know what kind of demand there's going to be for firefighter 2 certification. Some people want it. I think the bigger hurdle for firefighter 2 is you have to have your passenger vehicle rescue technician. And from what I understand from that class, the challenge is you have to have 1 car for every 2 students.
Oof.
So if I wanted to run that for 24 students, I need 12 cars.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time in Upper St. Clair getting 3.
Yeah.
To do some vehicle rescue training. So I think that's the bigger challenge and getting through that program. But I like that they have that program. I think the challenge for us in the Shaycog is we really spread what used to be modules 1 through 4. We really spread them out to try to make it easier on the student so they have less time commitment and it's easier to do that with their home life and get through the training. But yeah, we'll see. I mean,
the order is definitely different.
Like the order is different. So
they haven't touched ladders yet.
Right. And we used to,
second half of the year.
We used to do module 4. We would do modules 1, 2, 3 in the spring. We would do module 4 in the fall. Yeah. So we would start that in late September and be done in November. I mean, it's 48 hours. Now it's 88. So I have a little less teaching on the front end, and I have a lot more teaching or class time for the students on the back end. And so we're starting in mid-August and probably running through mid-November to try to get that 88 hours in. But uh, yeah, and we're learning. It's like anything else the state does. I don't want to pick on them, but they just threw it out there and dumped it. And we're calling CCAC, and they don't even have paperwork for it or a class
Yeah.
outline. And so I think as instructors, we're all learning how to teach the program, and the students are learning. It's going to take us a little while to get it down. And in 5 years, I'll write a new NFPA standard, and who knows, they'll probably change the program again.
Yeah.
But I think, one thing I mentioned, the State Fire Academy, they've always been shorthanded since I've worked there. And it, when you talk about bureaucracy, it takes so long to get hired in the state. If I wanted to hire a resident instructor and I advertised today, it could be 9 months to a year.
Yeah.
But they're finally up to full staff. This is probably the first time in the 29 years I've been there that they have everybody that they're supposed to have, and some really good things are starting to go on. And so I hope we continue to see those things go on. We're still talking about how do we deliver the classroom portions online, where you go into a CADIS
Yeah.
and you just come to the class to do the skills. I know
That'd be huge for like older people, not
Yeah,
but
I
more
mean,
middle-aged people that have the families and stuff to be able
right,
to do that online rather than
do it on your
sit
own
through a
time
Saturday or
and
give up a
come
whole
do the
Saturday.
skills. Sure. I know that Deputy Chief Weiss and I, he's a deputy chief in Harrisburg. During COVID, we were the only two employees that worked. And we were supposed to write online training programs like how to do an initial radio report, how to give a 360 report, what to look for in a 360. So we were writing all these really 30 and 45-minute programs that you could be online, how to do a size up. What are you looking for a size up? All those things. And we put these programs together, and then the state didn't have enough resources. They never did anything with them. And so now they're talking about trying to get those up and on video and actually on a CADIS because I think if we lack one thing in the Commonwealth overall, we lack training for officers. And I think Officer Command's a great program, but only so many people can do Officer's Command. And so there's nothing really on the local level where you teach somebody, hey, here's an initial radio port. Here's what you're looking for. How do I size up the building? What are my tactical priorities? I mean, I'm guessing like most of us, probably like you, I was an officer in a volunteer department. No one taught me how to be an officer.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I'm 23. There's a lieutenant spot open. I bought beer. They voted for me, and I'm a lieutenant.
Yeah.
I don't know anything more today than I did yesterday.
Yeah.
So we need to do a better job on the Commonwealth level, but I think even in our firehouses is just understanding, look, we need to do a better job preparing officers. It's just we throw them in the seat and throw them to the dogs, and that's pretty common in the fire service. And they're making life altering decisions, for that crew and for that family when they show up in the rig, and they've never done this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
where's the practice? Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's where we can improve. But I got off track. I don't even know where we started with the
No, I was asking you random questions. You were supposed to give me advice for young people, and you.
Well, I don't think anybody would give you any different advice than they probably would have given you a long time ago. Is keep your ears open and keep your mouth shut. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot of smart people in a lot of these departments with experience. Experience matters. You can learn a lot from experience. The one thing I do, I've always heard this new generation is lazy, they're disrespectful. I don't find that generally. What I do find from this newest generation is, and this has probably been for a long time because you've heard it, they got 20 years experience and they've been here for 1 year. And I see that there's, hey, I've completed essentials, and hey, I'm the guy that's around here a little bit doing shifts. I'm entitled to something that the rest of the members aren't entitled to because they don't hang out as much, or I know something, or I'm ready to be an officer. And, I just try to tell them experience, learn how to, like you get them right away. They get fired. Hey, I want to be a driver. You need to learn how to be a fireman first. Spend 5 years honing your craft of being a good fireman, then worry about being a driver, being a good firefighter. I just think, they push so hard to, and I don't know if it's for a title or more recognition or what that it is, but it's like, I was happy to be a fireman. I mean, when they said you can go back and drive a fire truck, I'm like, this is awesome. And it's still probably the best job there.
Yeah.
Cause you don't have to deal with any of the BS.
Yeah.
Be a good fireman. Concentrate on that. Everything else will work itself out.
For those not familiar with Upper St. Clair, like you mentioned earlier, you guys have come. I'd agree with your statement a long way in the past couple years. Give a little background on how you went from what it was 5 years ago to now.
Well, they had a
I
study
think I
like
think it's a good model. I think it's a
yeah,
good
like a lot of
example.
communities, they had a study to kind of see where the fire department was at and what it was doing well and maybe what it wasn't doing well. You know, um, they've always gotten a bit of money from the township, and they weren't doing anything wrong, but there's never any accountability. And so the way you get accountability is you hire a fire chief. And so that's what they decided to do. There were 11 recommendations in this strategic planning report. It was a strategic plan, and I think to date all 11 have been implemented. Switching from our own dispatch to the county, that was hard, but that was a huge improvement for us
Yeah,
and a huge jump. Politically, it's a little hard. Um, Not for us, but the elected officials, and they had sunk a lot of money into their own dispatch center. And now they're going to tell people, well, we're letting the fire department go. And so I get that. It was still right for us to leave. But you hire a fire chief, and all of a sudden there's accountability. Now, the department now has a seat at the table because there's someone communicating with management all the time about what's going on in the fire department. So he came in and made a lot of changes, and he did good. And then they hired me, and my job was originally fire service coordinator. Um, it was really to focus on training, which as a chief, you don't have enough time to do all these things. It's quickly overwhelmed, and even him as the chief, when you're one person, he was doing the truck checks every day. He was doing a lot of stuff on the
yeah,
floor,
yeah,
in addition to try to be the chief. So I picked up a lot of that stuff. But I do run the Monday night drills. Volunteer onboarding was a big one. Marketing, recruitment. Like when a volunteer comes on, I always want to be squared away. And for them to think, hey, we're professional and we kind of know what we're doing. And so, nowadays when you come on, I have your key, I have your access code to the computer, I have your um, everything you need to do for training. Here's your pager. Here's your gear locker. Here's your mailbox. Let me get all your gear. And so we're very streamlined and I hope professional and look professional when people come in the door and we onboard them. We've developed operator training programs. We developed a Proby book. We updated all of our standard operating guidelines. And he implemented a stipend program like a lot of fire departments are doing nowadays. I think it's a great program. We might get 35-40% participation, so we're not feeling. But what I think between me being there and the staff, the stipend firefighters, and even if you didn't have me, if you're in the department with stipend firefighters, because people were there and they usually have a little bit of experience, more people start hanging out.
yeah,
They just inherently do. I mean, they used to say you go past the Upper St. Clair Fire Department, there's never anybody there. This afternoon, I think I'm there, and I got myself, the chief. Now we just hired a fire inspector. I got a volunteer on shift. I got the fire inspector. There's probably 3 or 4 volunteers just hanging out because people were there.
yeah,
And so I think that's had a significant impact. Now, I've always found that there's a good side and a bad side to the duty shifts. And I think we experienced this in Mount Lebanon. You know, once people start doing shifts and they're getting paid a little bit, who cares about the pay? But they get some of their credits that way. They're not coming off duty.
yeah,
I've already gotten my credits.
yeah,
And so we've experienced a little bit of that is, like at night, it's a little bit difficult, especially for the wire down or the fire alarm or to get people to come out and they have their credits. So that's the danger is trying to manage this to have enough people still to respond um, off duty. But yeah, no, it's been really good. And I think like in many communities, whether it's perceived or real, there was a lack of trust between the township and the fire department. The township really didn't know what the fire department was doing, and I think the fire department. I get this a lot of fire departments. We don't trust local government. That's kind of gone away because you have a chief that's kind of managing that, and so the township has been more willing to give us more funding. They got a brand new pumper, they just got a brand new ladder truck, and so things that were probably left undone and the township was hesitant to maybe fund, they're not hesitant to fund anymore.
yeah,
And our next step, quite honestly, is probably a couple full-time staff. We talked about that problem at night. Um, it's not just a number of volunteers. We're not located in a great position where, in reference to where the volunteers live in the station
Yeah, it's
organization.
tough. I've noticed that a
Yeah,
lot with the
we're
switch to the
yeah,
county. You're getting reach on a lot, and
we're real. We're just
it's
really
no
slow.
knock on you
Yeah,
guys. It's
we're
just
really
it's
slow at
far.
night.
It's
You know,
far.
you're really slow, and then you need a driver,
Mhm.
and so for us, it doesn't sound like a huge thing. And obviously, we'd like way more firefighters. Everybody would, but if we can get one firefighter 24 hours a day that's there to drive the truck at night, then you get a crew a little bit faster. You get out the door. You always have somebody that they not only be a firefighter and a driver, but they'd probably be a little more experienced. You know, the great thing that we've experienced in Upper St. Clair is I've probably brought on, since I've been there, I shouldn't say I brought on, we have brought on probably, we're at 21 new volunteers.
Wow.
So half of this department has less than 18 months experience
Yeah.
of people that have gear. It's a great problem to have, but we're very inexperienced. And so someone just being around, that truck can go out with a guy that's a new driver that's been there 4 or 5 years and two or three guys that have 18 months of experience. So our goal is to shore that up, but obviously that it's going to be incumbent upon us selling our message to the local government to get them, and again, I'm very data driven, so I keep all this data to try to make this argument and make this sales pitch to say that this is would help us and this is how it would help us.
Yeah. I think it helps too to hire the right people. When I was talking to Steve about this the other day, but uh, yourself and Chief Hale, I mean, you have good reputations, you're good workers, so I think that drives those people to want to be around you guys to learn more and, as opposed to
Yeah,
some schmuck. I mean,
I think once they're there, but you recognize, I mean, they don't know us from anybody when they first show up.
it's
But
true. Yeah.
if you're there for a little bit, I
Yeah.
think, and I've always said this, your culture is so important when you're talking in volunteer fire service organizations, your culture is probably more important than anything. The people feel welcome. They feel like you're investing in them. They feel like you have the time to engage with them. I always said, even in Mount Lebanon, there's between career and volunteers, there's 70 people. I wasn't best friends with everybody, but I treated everybody with respect. I valued everybody, and just that I think goes a long way in the culture. And we expected that from everybody in the organization. To look, we're going to be respectful of everybody that walks in the door and tries to do what we do. They're not all going to be as good as you or I or somebody else, and I may not like some things about them, but it really doesn't matter. If I can turn them into a good firefighter, that's all that matters. So, do we treat people well when they come in the door? I always said I grew up in a firehouse where, and every fire department still has them. There's a bunch of old guys. I'm not picking on them, but they're in their 70s, and all they do is sit around the table and bitch at one another and talk about people. So if I'm a 25 or 30-year-old and I come into this environment and they're like, oh, so and so, he's this and they're this,
Yeah.
and you're like, why do I want to be a
Well,
part of
yeah,
this?
yeah.
If I wanted to get bitched at, I could probably go home. And so those are the kind of things we kind of need to eliminate to make a great culture where people want to be there. They feel valued. I just think it's important. So those successful departments, they're retaining members because of that. I don't know that it gets somebody in the door, but once they get in the door, they stay.
Well, any advice for a middle career fireman just asking for a friend?
That's asking for what?
I'm asking for a friend.
Oh,
Advice, yeah.
a middle career fireman that's for the friend. Obviously the thing about, and it's a luxury that you and I have is, when you come here, you're going to work till you're 25 years and get a pension. My advice would be, hey, when it's not fun anymore, or go find something else to do. But you and I couldn't do that, and I even reference that as a chief. I think the sweet spot for a fire chief, career volunteer. I mean, some of these chiefs, volunteer chiefs, have been chiefs for 30 years. 10 or 12 years is a sweet spot. You see a lot of career chiefs that are 5 to 8 years.
Yeah.
I was 17 years. It was too long. It was probably too long for me, and it was too long for the organization, in my opinion. But I couldn't go anywhere because I had that pension. But I tried not to be that guy. I probably became a little less motivated and ran out of things that I wanted to accomplish. But yeah, the middle guy in your career is, don't become the guy that leaves mad. We just said about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Find something, find a reason. And I think the reason that we can find, and the thing that we can find is those below us and those we work with. I mean, I really do. I found a lot of satisfaction in that later. You know, I tell this story a little bit, and it was kind of eye opening for me because whenever I would interview anywhere, and I've had a few interviews, and I do a lot of interviewing, there's usually a question about what are your strengths. So I would always go on and find a strength finder, because most people say, oh, my strength is I'm on time, I'm a hard worker, you know, I want to serve the residents. Those are all kind of canned answered. Everybody says those. So there's a book called Now Discover Your Strengths, where you can go in and take a test and it tells you what your 5 or 6 predominant strengths are. And there's some free ones online. So I would take these. And again, back when I first started as fire chief, achiever was one of my strengths, trying to achieve stuff, both for me and the organization. Activator, getting things done. But a lot of those strengths were really about achievement in me. When I take this now, before I go to St. Clair and I interview, it's funny that all my strengths are pretty much changed to where they're about other people and serving other people. You know, and I think that just comes with maturity and spending time. But find satisfaction in that. What do they tell us? Make sure you make the new firefighter an old firefighter. I haven't told people, you know, we go through this in Mount Lebanon. It's always disappointing someone doesn't get promoted. And you always want to be promoted, you know, not only for the money and maybe prestige, but you have more of a say in the organization. But you know, there's nothing ever wrong with being the senior man and being respected. You know, don't make what you give about your position and how you feel about yourself, about your position, make it about what you have to offer. And it may not require bugles for you to offer that. I met a great individual in one of my classes out in Lancaster, and I walk in and he's a smaller gentleman, kind of unassuming. And you go around and you introduce yourself, and he introduces himself. And he says, hey, my name is Robert Roberts. They call me Bob. I'm the senior man on, I think it's Truck 11 in Washington, D.C. I've been there for 22 years. And you're sitting there thinking, wow, this guy has a lot to offer. And he probably has a lot to offer this class. Now, he came to our class because he wanted to get promoted to lieutenant or acting lieutenant. And I think he just got promoted. But here he is at 20.
Bob. Shout out, Bob.
Shout out. Good dude. But here he is 23, 24 years later, just getting promoted. But I know he had a ton to offer that organization, those people that worked on that truck with him. This dude was just squared away. So I think there's a lot of pride in being the senior man, or there can be. Everybody wants to be an officer, right? I get it. Once you're there, I've been there long enough. I don't care to be an officer anymore.
Golfing anymore?
I've golfed a few times, but I don't have nearly as much time off anymore. I used to have a lot of time off when I was the fire chief. I don't have a lot of time off. And then, you know, I got injured. I tore my rotator cuff again back in April. And so I'm trying to rehab that. But yeah, not a lot of time for golf. And I wasn't very good anyways, but I enjoy it.
It was like fool's hockey.
Yeah.
It was about the golf.
Yeah, no, I was pretty good at hockey. Maybe I had good teammates around me. Again, surround yourself with good teammates that make you look good.
Mostly me and Bob Vlasic. We held it down. Well, cool. Hey, I appreciate you coming. Appreciate it. And like I said, the East Side Firemen's Club is named after the East Side Firemen's, or the East Side Firemen's Chat was named after the club, which you were a founding member of. So cheers, buddy.
Cheers to you, brother. Thank you for having me. And cheers to all you brothers and sisters out there. Be safe and keep doing it.
Yeah, I hope this worked. This is our first video episode. So if I messed it up, Godspeed.